5 welding tips you might find useful. The first tips have to do with self-shielded flux core. Number one, you need to use the knurled drive rollers. That wire is hollow. The knurled rollers will pinch on it better without using excessive tension. Number two, and the main thing, is get that polarity right. Self-shielded runs on different polarity than bare wire. And look at this mess here. I've got this on DC electrode positive. All I did was swap the polarity over to DCEN. What a difference. You can see even the machine, if you read it closely, it tells you, it guides you through DCEN for self-shielded flux core. But there are so many different brands out there, a lot of them don't have this on the inside. Another thing that makes a lot of difference is the amount of stick out that you have. For small machines like 115 volt, this is about right. You can use the regular copper MIG nozzle. In this case, I've used a guard that was available for this Hobart machine, and it gets that nozzle out of the way so we can all see the puddle better. But that's a pretty smooth puddle, not a lot of spatter. And again, that's all getting the polarity right. DC electrode negative is the way to go for self-shielded flux core. And here's another reminder of why you don't use DC electrode positive with self-shielded. Let's end on a good note here. I mean, it's not as smooth as bare wire MIG and shielding gas, but it's not a bad looking weld. They say you get a lot of spatter, but I don't see a lot of spatter there. It's all about getting your settings right. All right, let's talk about a task that most people will have to do eventually, and that's filling holes in sheet metal. Here I've got a piece of 50 thousandths thick stainless with a bunch of holes in it. Really common task in aerospace and automotive. Holes get wallered out, they get misdrilled. Sometimes you got to fill them up with weld metal. Now this is stainless, so we're going to automatically see some sugaring going on right now, and right there you can see it on that back side. That's because I'm just welding against air, nothing to shield that molten metal, and those chromic oxides are just acting up. And that is very typical with stainless. Carbon steel would go a lot better. But I'm going to finish this one out here just to show you what a mess it's going to be. Let me just speed this up quite a bit so we can get to the end and you can see the back side. Front side doesn't look too bad. It's filled up. It's relatively even. I had to put a lot of heat on it because when a stainless weld draws in oxides, it requires more heat just to flow the metal. But that looks like crap. And if you were to sand it off, you wouldn't have solid metal. It's just a bad job. Now we're going to clamp some backing to it. Now you can use aluminum here. Copper works even better, but aluminum is generally easier to come by. I've got it clamped directly to it, and what it does, it pulls heat out, but it also traps argon on the back side. It's going a lot faster here, and you can see I had to put a lot less heat in there than the first one. We'll flip it over. What a difference. Big difference between those two. And that brings me to a little tool called a copper spoon. It used to be the best deal going at Harbor Freight. You could get them for about 10 bucks. I haven't seen one in years there, but you can still get them on Amazon. They've gone up to 20-something dollars. Still a very useful tool. The copper on these is roughly about 100 thousandths to 1/8 of an inch thick. And you can use it for filling holes, and you can use it for a whole lot more stuff than that. But the copper really does a great job on backing for stainless steel as well as carbon. And I'll speed this up a ton too just to get to the end there. Because the copper spoon has a handle on it, it's a good tool for hold down on thin lap joints. The thinner the lap joint, the more you need something to hold it down where it's touching like this, where you can zap a quick tack on there. The handle on a copper spoon just makes it a really useful hold down tool for popping a lot of tacks like this. Used to have one job in the shop that I worked in, and it was a very tedious lap joint, 12 thousandths to 20 thousandths, and I saw a guy make one of these one time and I never forgot it. Took an old screwdriver, the cheaper the better, dollar store screwdriver or whatever, Buffalo, one that's got mangled on the end, and just add some silicon bronze or aluminum bronze to it and then shape it on a sander. Now you've got a conductive tip hold down tool that you don't care about messing up, and that copper draws the heat out, and just makes for a super handy tool that takes about literally 5 or 10 minutes to make. Outside corner joints, lap joints, it's super handy. A lot of us wind up with extra ground clamps, extra stingers, extra old TIG torch leads. They're very handy for a grounding tool, an extra jumper strap. In this case, I'm going to put some old DENS connectors that I found in my toolbox on the ends. You don't have to do that. Just bare wire works fine. You could tie a knot in these ends and it would work just as well. But I was playing around and seeing if this would work, and probably should have trimmed them a little bit better and got rid of some little loose wires, but you'll get the drift. I braided this one just for kicks, but you don't have to do that either. And just a little soft solder to keep them from fraying on the ends. And where a strap like this comes in handy is for parts that are kind of difficult to get a ground clamp on for whatever reason. In this case, I was working on a little stainless steel thing, welding two reducers together, trying to make a video. On some jobs I've been on, you would have to have tape on that chain to keep from contaminating the stainless, and so where do you put your ground clamp? Well, this is an option. Another good use for a strap like this is like a poor man's rotary ground clamp. If you're having to spin something in a vise, you don't want to pick up arc marks from the teeth on the vise. This just gives you more options. Hey, I hope you'll take us up on our free welding guides. The newest one is a How to TIG Weld Aluminum workbook with plenty of links to plenty of videos. You'll find the link in the description, or just do a quick Google search for free Weldmonger workbooks. I hope you'll shop weldmonger.com for tungsten, filler metal, welding machines, etc. I'll also put that link in the description. Thanks for your support.